Good evening. It's good to see Marvin and Rosa here with us today. I hope you're having a good week. Are you able to hear me all right? Okay, I think you're here. I can see your names. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Oops, move this out of the way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk about a job interview and what you do at a job interview, how to talk at a job interview, how to respond to questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But first of all, I want to review with you what our homework was. We talked last time about a resume, and we talked about how to fill out how to complete a resume. And this was due today before class. I was supposed to receive the resume, but I don't think I got your resumes. So if you didn't finish your resume yet, then please make sure to do that and send it to me, because you will be needing that when we do our test. Okay, so you'll remember your personal information goes at the top, and your objective, what kind of a job you want to have, the qualifications that you have for the job, any job experience that you have, and your education. And we went over all of this in a different class. So you can go back and watch it on my YouTube channel. I have my own YouTube channel. So you can watch the lessons there on the channel and review how to do that. And then please go ahead and send a picture for me. Hi, Wilson, glad you joined us. And so that was one homework that was due. And then we also have the cover letter. You are to write a cover letter for a job and send this to me by Monday. We also talked about how to do this in our last lesson. This was on Monday's lesson. So if you need to watch that again to review how to do a cover letter, then you can do that. And then send me a picture. Hi, Norma, how are you? Good, okay. And the last homework that we have that's due on Monday is this page. It's page 27 in your packet. And this is completing the job application. Hi, Wilson.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. I like your hat.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so the job application needs to be completed as well with all of your information. And take a picture and send that to me also. So you have 3 homeworks that are due. This one is due on Monday. One that's due today, or, okay, if you want to have it by Friday, then I'll give you by Friday for your resume for this one. Okay, so I'll give you a couple more days. And then this is due Monday, and this is due on Monday. And I'm going to give you some more too. There's more homework today. This is a short class, so we have to go through it really fast, because the first day of class, remember, I had internet problems and we didn't have class. And then the second class, I don't remember. There was we had a holiday, so we lost another class. And it's almost time for us to take our test already. So we have to go through this stuff really fast. So I apologize for that. But by the end of our classes, then you should be able to successfully complete a job application and a job interview. So that's our goal. So we're going to go ahead and start here. When you go to an interview, then the interviewer will always say something like, so tell me about yourself, or what is your background? These are some questions that they might ask. And the reason that they're asking that is because they want to see if you can do the job, right? If you're responsible, if you'll do a good job, and if you'll finish it on time. And then you'll want to know some questions, some answers to questions as well. You're going to want to know if it's a good job for you, and you'll want to know what your job duties are. So during your interview, you want to make sure that you are, whenever you're going to answer a question, make sure you think first before you answer. Don't speak too fast or too softly. Always be very energetic, enthusiastic, look happy. If you're not smiling, then they'll think that you're probably not right for the job. You can be attentive and be an active listener. So active listener means that, like, you're nodding, you're saying, I see, or okay, or yes, and you look very interested. Then that's being an active listener. And you need to sell yourself. You want to show that interviewer that you are the best person for the job. So you want to talk about your work skills. You want to talk about your personal qualities, your qualifications, the things that will make you the best person for him or her to choose. And of course, you always want to be confident. So we're going to go ahead and do some practicing with that. Oh, I think we talked about this last time, but these are some questions that an interviewer is not allowed to ask you. So they're not allowed to ask you about your age. They can't ask you about your race, your religion, your health, or your family. So you have the right not to answer those questions. Okay, so let's take a look down here. What is the main purpose of the interview for the employer? What is the employer's purpose? Which answer do you think is correct, A, B, or C? Anybody?
I think letter A. Letter A.
The letter A?
I guess so.
Okay, well, does the person hiring somebody want to know if you're nice?
Nice person, or
if you can do the job?
if I can do the job, I think it's better.
Yeah, that would be the better answer. They want to know if you can do the job.
Yes.
So let's see. So B would be the correct answer. And what is something that you might want to know from the interviewer? Would you want to know about your vacation, about your duties, or about your boss?
About your duties.
Right, about your duties. And how should you speak during the interview?
H. Loud and slow.
Yes. How do you need to listen? This is kind of a tricky one.
Letter B.
Well, that's partly correct. You actually want to do both. You want to listen attentively. That means giving your attention. And you want to nod and say, I see, or okay. So that would be C, both A and B. You have to do both of them.
Okay.
And what does it mean to sell yourself?
Letter A.
To say many good things about yourself and your job skills. Right, that's what it means to sell yourself. And do you need to tell the truth when you answer interview questions?
Yes.
Yes, you definitely need to tell the truth. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Erase all my stars. Okay, so here are some, this is an example of somebody who is answering the question about, tell me about yourself. Now, some helpful hints, some things to keep in mind is when they ask you that, don't talk about your family, Don't talk about personal problems. But some things that you do need to talk about is the job that you want, your past job, and a little bit about your work skills and your personal qualities. So let's take a look at how Jane does in her interview here. Do I have a volunteer to be Jane and a volunteer to be Mr. Smith? Would anybody like to be Jane or anybody like to be Mr. Smith?
I do, Mr. Smith.
Okay, thanks, Wilson.
Jen.
We need a Jane.
Yeah.
Marvin, you're going to be Jane?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Excuse me, may I come in?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. I am Jane Lee. I am here about the cashier job.
Yes, come in. I'm Mr. Smith. I'm the manager.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Please take a seat. Can you tell me about yourself?
I am from Korea. I would like to work as cashier. I worked as cashier in supermarket in my country for 2 years. I am very organized and responsible person, and I am very good with number. I work well with other and always follow direction.
Good job. So what are some good things that Jane did in her responses?
He's
Always follow directions.
Okay, she said that she always follows directions, so she gave one of her personal qualities. What else did she say?
organized,
Yes, she
responsible
talked
person.
about being very organized,
Responsible person.
right?
And a very good with number.
Yes, that was like a job skill, right? Anything else that she talked about that was good?
Organized.
Do you see where she talked about her experience?
3 years.
Yeah, she talked about her experience, her job experience. So that's
Yeah.
good too.
2 years for experience.
Yeah, she said that she worked for 2 years as a cashier in a supermarket, right?
Yep.
So that was her job experience. And she also said what her objective was, that she would like to work as a cashier, right? So she said a lot of good things in her response. So that's a good example of how to respond to that question. So let's take a look at some more answers here. And there's going to be a good answer and there's going to be a bad answer. So we're going to take a look and pick which answer is a bad answer and which one is a good answer. So let's take a look at Igor over here. There are 2 answers for Igor. Somebody want to read what Igor says? He has 2 answers. He has A and B. Okay, don't everybody rush at once. I'll go ahead and do it. Okay. We have a lot of stuff to go through today. My name is Igor. I am from Russia. I want to be an auto mechanic, but I do not have any experience in this country. In my job, I repaired cars, but all cars are different here. Okay, so that's his first answer. And now let's look at his second answer. My name is Igor. I am from Russia. I want to be an auto mechanic. In Russia, I worked as a mechanic at a garage for 3 years. I repaired many kinds of cars. I am a very organized person and I am always on time. So which answer is the better answer, A or B?
No, B.
Why, Marvin? Why is B a better answer?
It's more specific. This is very organized person and always time. The experience 2 years, 3 years.
Right, very good. So in that one, he talked about his job experience, he talked about work skills, He talked about personal qualities. What was wrong with the first answer?
He didn't have experience.
He didn't have experience here in the United States, right? This is the same person. So it's the same person answering in two different ways. So he didn't talk about his experience in his own country, right? All that he did was say he didn't have experience here. So that's not a good way to answer. It's better to talk about experience that you had before, even if it was in a different country.
Okay.
And he talked about that he did repair cars, but all the cars here are different. Well, is that going to give somebody a lot of confidence in that person? Probably not, right? So B is the better answer. So let's take a look at the second one. And again, this is the same type of question. Can you tell me about your background? It's the same thing as tell me about yourself. So we have this one. My name is Niora. I am from Cambodia. I came here with my family 5 months ago. I have a wonderful wife and 3 children. My son is very good at sports, like me. My wife is looking for a job too. Maybe you have something for me and for her. I worked in a hospital, but that was a boring job. Okay, do you think that he did a good job answering?
No.
No?
Nope.
All right, well, let's see his second answer and see if he did better the second time. My name is Niora. I'm from Cambodia. I would like to work as a nurse. I worked in a hospital emergency room. I finished a nursing program 3 years ago. I'm very friendly. I work well with people and I always follow directions. Was that a better answer?
Yes, it is.
Okay, why? What was so good about it?
It's the same thing because he has a lot of experience.
Okay, so he talked about his experience, right? That he worked in a hospital emergency room. Talked about.
And she always follow directions. That's what I think.
Right. We just had an earthquake right here. Did you guys feel an earthquake?
Yes.
You felt it?
Yeah.
I didn't.
It's a hard, man.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of shaking here, but I could
Yeah.
feel it.
It's a
Did you feel it,
moment.
Norma? Norma looks very calm. He's like, yeah, I felt it. Rosa, did you feel the earthquake?
Yeah.
I'm
A little
like
bit.
window
I
and
wonder
I
where
see the tree.
were things moving around? A little bit, yeah. Okay, well, I guess it wasn't near us, I guess. Okay. So, and he talked about his qualities, right? That he's friendly, works well with people. So all of these are positive things. So what was wrong with the first one, though? What was wrong with A?
He talked about herself.
Well, he's supposed to talk about himself, but
He is the family information.
right, he started talking about his family, and we learned that you shouldn't do that in an interview, right?
Yes.
So he talked about his family. In fact, most of it was about his family. There's something else that he did wrong. Did you see the other thing he did wrong?
He works in the hospital and he was boring.
Right, he was negative. He said that
Yeah.
his job was boring. You don't want to do that. You always need to be positive in your responses. Okay, so this one, we're going to skip this page. And if you go to this website, then you can see some examples of some good and bad responses. So this is in your packet, but later on, it'd be a good idea to take a look and watch the video so that you can see some good examples of good answers and bad answers. When you do your job interview later, then that'll be one of the questions. We'll ask you, well, so tell me about yourself. So you need to be able to respond with good answers. Okay, so for practice, this is some more homework that will be due on Monday. And you need to respond to that question. Can you tell me about yourself? So this is kind of a frame for how you would answer. Since you're intermediate and higher levels, you should be able to give more details than this. This is a very simple one, like for beginner students, but you should be able to write some more things, some more details, to take maybe about 1 to 2 minutes, okay? So you'll say what your name is, where you're from, the job that you want, what your last job was, how long you worked there, and then you're going to tell about your skills, your experience, your personal qualities, your education. So, and you can use this space down here to write it all out. Okay, do you have any questions about this homework assignment?
Nope.
Okay, so this is from Monday, before class. And another question that they will ask you in an interview is, tell me about your work skills. And also they will ask you about your work experience. So you'll need to be able to answer both of those. Work skills would be something like, if we look at the first picture, and it says Jose is an office worker. What are some things that he can do if he's an office worker? He can what?
Answer the phone.
Right, he can answer the phone. That's a work skill. What else can he do?
Enter data on computer.
Yes, very good. So those would be some work skills. Okay, that would be an example. We're not going to go through all of these. So, but what you will do is at the back of your packet, you look at the back at the appendix, then it's on page 59. There's a big list of different jobs and job skills. So you'll look through that appendix and pick a job and the job skills, and then you'll fill in this information here. So we have, I'm here about the blank job, like cashier job, maybe. I can, so tell about your job skill, what else you can do, something you know how to do, and something else that you can do. So this would be it's just kind of like a frame for, so that you can present yourself for a job, talking about some different things that you can do. So that is also due on Monday. You guys are going to be busy over the weekend, huh? Okay, but this prepares you for life, right? So this is good homework.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some examples about, tell me about your work skills. So I need an Alexander and I need a Mr. Smith. Any volunteers to be Alexander or Mr. Smith?
Me, Alexander.
Okay. We need a Mr. Smith.
Me.
All right. Thank you, Norma.
Excuse me, may I come in?
Nice to meet you. Do please take a seat.
Oh,
I
wait.
Wait. Oh, sorry. It's
I think we're in different places. We're up here at the top.
Okay.
It's Rosa talking, right? We got Rosa and Marvin. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's all right.
Excuse me, may I come in?
Yes, please.
Good morning. I am Alexander Rumper. I am here about the electric position.
Yes, come in. I am Mr. Smith. I am the manager.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Please take a seat. I can see from your resume that you are an electrician. Can you tell me about your work skills?
Yes, I know how to do the troubleshooting. I can service residential and commercial building. I can also read blueprint and diagram.
Thank you.
All right, good job. So we can see that he talked about his work skills, right? He knew what to say. He didn't have to think about it. So when you are asked that question, tell me about your work skills, don't give very short answers. You want to see how his answers were a little bit long. So you should name at least 3 work skills that you have and give concrete details or specific details about it. If you use specific tools or programs, then talk about what their name is. Do you guys know what troubleshooting is?
No, I don't.
Okay, troubleshooting means like solving problems. It's another way of saying problem solving. So that's kind of a good word to know. It's a good word to put in an interview. If you're good at solving problems, then you can say that you know how to do troubleshooting or how to troubleshoot. And this one here, this is just some more practice. This would be good for you to do on your own to practice. We're not going to go over it today though, because we have too much to do. But I would recommend that you do it on your own, as it shows different jobs and also different work skills and putting them together in a conversation. Okay, so another question that they will ask you in an interview is to talk about your work experience. So when you talk about your work experience, then you're going to tell about your past jobs and job duties, and you'll give examples of your past job duties and be concrete and positive. So let's look at the first example here. This person's past job was as a painter, and their job goal is, again, to be a painter. So this is what he says. In my last job, I was a painter. I had a small painting business with my brother for 7 years. Most of our work was inside offices and apartment buildings. In the summer, we also painted the outsides of the buildings. For example, last summer, we painted a large apartment building. It was very old, so we needed to remove all of the old paint. We also filled cracks and repaired the windows before we painted. It was a big job, but we worked on the weekends too and finished it. In 3 weeks, we finished it in 3 weeks. The owner of the apartment building liked our job because we were efficient and careful with details. He told his friend, and we got another job after that. So what do you see that he did well in his response? He talked about that he had this business, right? He talked about for how long he had it. He talked about where he worked, that it was inside offices and apartment buildings. And he also talked about that he did the outside of the buildings. And then something very interesting, look what he did. He said, for example, and he talked about one job that he did, and he gave more specific details. He talked about when they painted that large apartment building. He said that it was old and that they had to take all the old paint off, that they had to fill in cracks, repair the windows. And then he said that it was a big job, but he said that he worked on the weekends too. So the interviewer is going to think, wow, he's a hard worker. He's even willing to work on the weekends to get his job done, right? And he also said that the person who saw the job, who had the job done, that they liked the job. And why? Because they were efficient and careful with details. and he even referred him to a friend. So these are all really good things to include in your response about your work experience. Okay, so, but sometimes you might not have experience, right? Maybe it's the first time you're going to go do a painting job or some other kind of job. Maybe you never worked as a cashier before, or you never worked as whatever. But then what we're going to look at is, rather than talking about your work skills or your work experience, you're going to talk about your transferable skills. Transferable skills. So skills that you have in one job that you can also use for another job. And you'll talk about your education. Anything that you took in your education that will be helpful for that type of job. So we're going to see an example. This person's past job was as a travel agent, but now they want to be a driver. Those sound like two very different jobs, right? So let's see how he answers. In my last job, I was a travel agent, so I read maps every day. It's important for drivers to read maps and find the fastest way to get to places. I am also very efficient, and I work well under pressure. In my last job, June was the busiest month. In 1 week, I made reservations for more than 100 people. I think being efficient and working well under pressure is critical for drivers because they need to drive to many places in a short time. I am a very careful driver. I got my driving license when I was 18 years old, so I have a lot of experience. So what kind of transferable skills do you see that he had? How did being a travel agent help him for this job to be a driver? What's the same about the two jobs? Do you see anything that's the same about being a travel agent or being a driver? What was one of the job skills that he had being a travel agent? What did he have to do when he was a travel agent? Okay, well, if we look at the first part, he said that he had to read maps every day, right? So when he was a travel agent, he read maps every day. Is it important for drivers to read maps?
Yes.
It is.
Right. Okay, so that was a transferable skill. It was a skill he had as a travel agent, and he can also use it to be a driver, and talks about how drivers also read maps. What are some other qualities that she has or he has when as a travel agent, and how will that be good as a driver? See where it says I am? She says, I'm also very efficient and I work well under pressure. And then she talks about how busy she was in June, right? And talked in how she was successful in doing a good job when she had a lot of pressure. And she said that it's the same thing for drivers. Drivers have to be able to be efficient and work well under pressure. So she's giving some transferable skills there. And then talked a little bit about education. there wasn't really specific education for being a driver, but talked about that she got her driving license when she was 18 years old, so she has a lot of experience. So those are some other things that she used to help respond. Okay, now another question that they will ask you in an interview, they'll say, tell me about your strengths. And they'll also ask you why you left your job. They'll ask if you have a job right now. So we're going to take a look at that and some ways to respond. So if they ask you, do you have a job right now? Well, that's pretty much a yes or no question, right? It's pretty simple. If the answer is yes, you do have a job, then just tell the interviewer where you work. So you can say, yes, I work at Walmart, or yes, I'm working as a welder, or whatever you're doing. If you don't have a job right now, then you can just say, no, not at this time, and that would be fine. They'll also want to ask why you're leaving your job, or why you left your previous job. So again, never speak negatively. You won't want to say something like, well, everybody was really rude at my last job, or they gave me too much work, or I had to work too many hours. You don't want to be negative. Always be positive. So you can say something like, I liked my last job, but I'm looking for more responsibility. Or I like the people I worked with, but I want to get more experience in this other area, or something like that. You always want it to be something positive and not something negative. Finally, they'll ask when you can start. Now, they probably want to hire somebody pretty quickly. So if you're not ready to work like really quickly after that, then you probably shouldn't apply for the job. But you should say something like, I can start next week, because you want to get started right away. So this is where you can go ahead and answer those questions for practice. You don't have to do it for homework, but it's good practice. Actually, no, in this part, you are just saying which ones mean the same. We're just going to skip this page. We don't need this. Okay, this is where you can look at some different sample answers to the questions so that you can read on your own. And again, you can just practice on this page. Now, the employer is going to ask you, tell me about your strengths. That means, what are you good at? What are some good things about you? So you want to talk about your best personal qualities. So you definitely want to talk about your personal qualities. It's right here. And your best work skills. And give some examples. Okay, they can ask it different ways. They might say, what are your greatest strengths? What are your strongest points? What are your best work abilities? Why should we hire you? Those are all questions that pretty much mean the same thing. And you can watch the video underneath here at this site to get some, see some good answers to that. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at how we should answer. So let's see. So one answer could be, if they say, so tell me about your strengths. One answer might be, I'm very organized. I get along with people. I have good communication skills. Okay, do you think that that's a good answer?
I think you got to tell them that you work hard.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. So maybe they need a little bit more information. So let's look at the next one, answer 2. I am flexible. In my last job as a waiter, my schedule changed very often, but it wasn't a problem for me because I could work different shifts. If the schedule changes in your restaurant, I can be flexible here too. Also, I'm very reliable. I was always on time for work. My boss knew that I was reliable. I'm also very efficient. Sometimes we had 100 customers in our restaurant in one night. I helped the busboy clean the tables very quickly so new customers could sit down. What do you think about that answer?
It's a long answer, but everything is okay.
Why was it so long? What did they include that the other person didn't?
Because he said that many things.
Did he give different examples?
No, he didn't.
He talked about, one thing he said was that he was flexible, right? And then he gave an example. He talked about how on his other job, he was flexible whenever the schedule changed. So he gave an example, and that's very good. And then he also said that he was reliable, and he gave an example from his old job about how his boss could always depend on him. So this is a better answer because he said one of his qualities, and then he gave an example. So let's look at the last answer. My greatest strength is that I am very smart. In my last job, I always felt that I was smarter than my boss. Is that a good answer? Do you think that would be a good answer to say that you were smarter than your last boss? Norm
I think
is
so.
going, no.
No.
No, that wouldn't be a good answer, right? You don't want to make yourself look better than your boss. So that was not a good way to answer. So the best choice there would have been answer 2. So that's a really good example of how to respond. So you'll get to practice down here responding to what are your strengths. And you want to make sure that you're specific and that you give good examples. Oh my, we have a lot left to do. Let me see how much we can get done in our last 3 minutes. Hold on here. Okay, so this part I think you can look over by yourself. This is just talking about what kind of shifts you can work and if you prefer full-time or part-time. So you can look over that information on your own. And okay, so this part about weaknesses, this is like the opposite of what your strengths are, right? And we talked about that in a job interview, you always need to be honest and tell the truth. So when you tell the interview about what your weaknesses are, he's asking that because he wants to know if there's anything that you need to do better, that you need to improve on. And also to see if you have any personal qualities that are negative. So you don't want to say something like, I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist. That's what everybody says. So you don't want to work that. You don't want to say that. Instead, give 1 or 2 examples that will not affect your ability to do the job. So don't talk about something negative that you can't change. Like, for example, if you're applying to be a teacher, then you don't want to say that you have anger management problems, right? Because right away, the person will think, oh no, this person gets angry really fast. They wouldn't be a good teacher, right? So instead, you're going to talk about a kind of a skill that you have that maybe needs more improvement. Like maybe you could say something like, well, I'm learning a lot about how to use computers. I'm taking some classes so that I can learn more about them. That's a better way than to say, oh, it's too hard to use computers. I don't understand them, right? Instead, it shows that you're doing something to improve your weakness. And you don't want to say too much. And you don't want to say, I don't have any weaknesses, because all of us have weaknesses, right? Okay, and so here are some examples. of some weaknesses. I gave you the example about the computer. It's kind of the same thing. So whenever you talk about your weaknesses, you always want to show how you can improve your weaknesses. So you can read these later because we're about out of time. And I think I've got a couple more here. Okay, so here's one about English. If they ask, what are your weaknesses? You could say, my English is very poor. I make many grammar mistakes, and sometimes I don't understand what native speakers tell me. Talking on the phone is my biggest problem. Well, that sounds like that person needs a lot of help, right? And they're not very positive. Let's look at the second answer. The second answer says, English is my second language. I've only been in this country for 1 year, but I'm learning English very quickly. I'm taking classes and I practice speaking English every day. Do you think that's a more positive way to talk about your weaknesses? Right, that's more
Yes, it is.
positive. So that's a way that you can answer that question. And again, there are more videos that you can watch to help you practice and see some good answers for that. And we are about done. Next time we'll talk about how to close an interview, how to finish the interview. So we'll do that the next time. So don't forget about your homework, and I'm glad to see several of you are working on your English as well. You're doing your English online, so that's very good. And keep it up. Do you have any questions?
No, we don't. Well, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Did I show you guys my YouTube channel where you can see all the videos from the other classes? Did I show that to you?
No.
No? Let me show you my YouTube channel. Okay. Do you see it? Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, here it is. So all of our classes I'm putting on YouTube, so you can watch them. If for some reason you miss class, then you can go to my channel and watch the videos. Okay, any questions? All right, well, have a good rest of your week, and make sure that you send your homework to me either by email or you can send it as a picture by text or something. Okay.
Teacher,
All right.
I send my homework is for the Imodo, no problem?
You send it through Edmodo?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
I haven't checked my Edmodo yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, teacher, good night. See you.
Good night.
When is going to be the next class online?
Monday.
Monday, okay.
Yeah,
See you
Monday
Monday.
we're going to finish our classes, all of the lessons on Monday, and then we're going to start doing testing probably on Wednesday. I'll have you sign up for when you'll do your test, but we'll talk about it on Monday so
All
that
right.
you have time to get ready.